Okay guys, Mr. Burek here. Okay, another exciting project for today. I kind of went a little over the edge on this one, tried to think of something really creative, really cool, really fun. And I decided that probably some of you guys, a lot of you guys, you have headphones at the house that are broken. Maybe you sat on them, maybe the dog chewed on them, whatever the case may be. Some of them might be wired, some of them might be Bluetooth wireless. You can pretty much use any headphones that you have laying around. So, first thing, I wouldn't tear apart a good set of headphones. So this is if you have a broken set that is kind of in a shape like this. You know, the speakers still play, but they're broken. So to do this project, you're going to want a broken set of regular headphones. You're going to want a broken set of Bluetooth headphones. Okay, so here's what you're going to need. Headphones. You're going to need a piece of cardboard. Now this is just a rough size, okay? So it doesn't have to be exact. You're going to need, maybe roughly 7 inches long, 6 inches high. I mean, ish, because we're going to cut it down anyways. So, a piece of cardboard, maybe a little bigger than your hand. Okay, so cardboard. You're going to need a tape measure and a straight edge to draw lines, or you can just use a ruler. That works too. You're going to need a marker of some sort, preferably black. Doesn't have to be a permanent marker, but some kind of marker. Worst case, you can use a pen, you can use a crayon, but a black marker if you have it. You're also going to need a pair of scissors. You're going to need probably just a pair of little wire snips from the toolbox. That's really the only tool that you'll need. And you're going to need either some glue or you're going to need like a hot glue gun. I like to use a hot glue gun. Okay, so let me get the camera positioned on the work surface here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. Alright, I think that's going to work pretty good. Let's give that a try. I think we're going to be in good shape there. Okay, so the first thing you got to do is you got to take the speaker assemblies out of the headphones without breaking the wires. So let me see if I can show you how to do this, because I did the first one pretty good. Now, every set of headphones is going to be just a little bit different, so I would encourage you to get your parents, guardians, help, maybe an older brother or sister, something like that. But the first thing I did is I just removed the headphone assembly speaker pad. Kind of pulled this pad off of here like that, so the pad came out. And then once I did that, literally the speaker just popped right off of there. Now, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but you kind of have to chunk out that little piece of plastic to get the cable out, because as you'll see, it's kind of, there's no way to get it out without chopping that piece of plastic out. And I found it super easy to do. So what I did, and again, each set of headphones a little bit different, but what I did is I just very, very carefully, I made a chop. I'm going to show you this, so don't worry. I made a chop there, and I made a chop there. Okay. So I'm going to chop out just a little more. This was really pretty easy. Okay. So let me see if I can show you what I did here. Let me get this in front of the camera. Okay, so what I did is I just took the plaster, the snips, and I just kind of snipped that on both sides. And then what that allows, if you're careful, it should just come right out of there. There we go. And comes out pretty cleanly. You don't want to be too rough with it because you could break the connectors off here, and then you either have to resolder them or you're going to ruin your project. Now, you can do this with Bluetooth headphones as well. You don't need this cable. You just have to kind of figure that one out on your own. But you guys are pretty crafty, and I think that you could probably figure out how to use the Bluetooth as well. Okay, so we're going to discard this part. We no longer need it. Now, you're going to take cardboard here, and so basically these are going to be the boombox speakers. So this is a little desktop size boombox portable speaker that we're going to make. So that's basically going to be your boombox speakers. Okay, so here's what we got to do. The first thing you got to do is we got to get kind of a nice rectangular shape. And you can trace something if you want, or you could do all the lines separately. Let me see something here. That might work. Let me think about this here. So is that going to work for us? I am going to say probably not. Okay, a little bit too small. I was just going to trace my phone. Instead, I have a straight edge here. That's much bigger than my phone. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to trace this, and it's going to make a perfect boombox size for me. So what I'm going to do is, and the beauty of this is you guys can make your boombox really any size you want. I'm going to leave that up to you guys. So I'm going to cut this, and we're going to end up with a nice rectangle. If you guys remember, I used to collect boom boxes from the 1980s. I had 40 some in my collection, and when I moved to Arizona, I kept my favorite 5 because I couldn't lug 40 radios with me. So I have my favorite 5 here. Okay, now and I'm going to trim up the edge because I like it to be nice and perfect as it can be. Okay. Again, I'm going to do a measurement on this just so you guys have an idea. You don't have to make it this exact size. So my boombox face is roughly 8 inches long by roughly 4 inches wide. So mine is 8 inches by 4 inches. Yours can be a little bigger, a little smaller, whatever you like, okay? But that's mine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out, let me see here, I'm going to figure out where I'm going to put my speakers. I'm going to do mine like that, and like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I want mine to be kind of straight as they can be. So what I'm going to do is I want to measure mine just to make sure I'm doing it right here. So I'm going to go maybe, I'm going to say maybe a ½ an inch. Maybe a ½ an inch. And I'm going to draw a circle around my speaker. Okay, and then I'm also going to go a ½ an inch. I'm going to show you guys this when I'm done here, so you don't have to worry about anything. So I'm going to go ½ an inch here, right about there. Okay, and then I'm going to go around like that. Guys, I think this is going to look so cool. Okay, and then that's what I got right there. See that? You got the holes for your boombox. Now, again, actually I'm going to trim this up just so it's a little bit more even. I'm noticing that I'm a little tiny bit off. Okay, alright. Now, the back of the speakers. You'll notice, now yours might be a little bit different, but I've got this little indent here, this little circle, and then I've got these three little posts. So we want to make it where we make the opening big enough where we can glue this flush. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to see where those standoff things are, and I'm going to try to mark them if I can, so I have an idea how far I got to cut out of there. Okay, so let's try that one. Let's see what we got here. I got those three little dots. You guys can freehand this very, very carefully. You don't want to cut yourself with the scissors, okay? You do that very, very carefully. But I'm going to make a hole. Now, this, guys, doesn't have to be exact by any means, because this is going to be totally, completely covered up. Nobody's going to see this part of your project, so you don't have to worry too much about this being perfect, okay? You can just sort of chop this out at will. Nobody's going to see that part. Alright, and I just want to see if that's going to drop down in there. So, look at that, and it does, right? Okay, so there's that. So I am going to do the exact same thing to the other side. I'm going to try, again, on my speakers, I'm going to try to catch those three little standoffs. There's one, there's two, and there is three. Okay. All right. So let me give you guys a little bit of education on golden age boom boxes. So those were big boom boxes made from 1981 to 1984. Collectors call those golden age units because they were big, they had a ton of chrome, they sounded beautiful, they were really expensive. So a lot of times when you were a kid you couldn't afford them just because they were super expensive. So I had 40 of those in my collection over the years, and I had a great time with those. My three favorite brands of vintage golden age boom boxes. I loved the Panasonics. I loved the General Electrics, the GE boom boxes, and I especially loved the Radio Shack boom boxes. The brand name was called Realistic, and it was a Radio Shack brand. So I loved GE, Panasonic, and Realistic. Those were my three favorite brands. All right, let's try. Let's see here. Is that going to go in? No, I need to take just a little bit more off of that one. So we're going to trim that one just one little hair more, tiny bit more there. Okay, and then let's try that. And trim that one out just a bit. You kind of want this straight. You kind of want this, you know, so your speaker tracing is kind of aligned. Try that. That is perfect. Okay, now here's where the fun part comes in. You get to draw a boombox on here. Now, for those of you who don't remember what a vintage 80s boombox looks like, you can go on the internet, pull up a picture. You could say boombox. Some of the kids in our neighborhood, we called them ghetto blasters. Other kids called them boomboxes. But get on to Google Images, pull up an image of that. I'm going to go by memory. So I'm going to draw the cassette player first, because all of the boom boxes back in the day had cassette players in them. Some of them actually had 2 cassette players, and they would play sequentially one after the other, so you'd have a longer music time. With the days before MP3s, right? Okay, so I'm going to draw a cassette here, and that cassette had 2 spindles in the middle of it. Okay, I color that in. Okay, I can tell you guys I'm going to use this all the time. I can see it now. I can already see it. Okay, and then on a cassette deck, you had buttons that operated the cassette. So you had, we'll go through them. As I'm putting them on here, we're going to go through them. So you had a play button to play that cassette. You had a rewind button. You had a fast forward button on your cassette. You had a stop button, and you had a pause button. So those are my buttons on my cassette. Okay. And maybe just for embellishment, to make that look a little better, I think I'm going to do a border around there just to make that a little thicker. I want it to be a little more prominent. Just kind of help make it look a little nicer, a little more detailed. Okay. And the bigger the bigger the headset that you guys have, the bigger the speakers, the better the sound. I played these. They're not super loud, but I know that I'm going to use it just for the fun and the nostalgia of it. I can already tell you that. Okay, and actually, as I recall, there used to be like a little box in the middle of that. That's how I seem to remember that. Okay, that's the cassette deck on our boombox. Now, all boomboxes, they had a radio, so you had a big radio dial. So we're gonna do a radio dial on here, and those radio dials were pretty much analog. So you turned a knob, and a little needle went down the radio dial. So we're gonna do that. Towards the end, some of them had digital radios, kind of like what you guys are used to today, where you turn the knob and it's just numbers on a screen. Towards the end of the Golden Age boomboxes, some of them did have that digital tuner. It was a pretty big deal. And then on that analog gauge, we had AM and FM, so there was normally a line here. The top was AM and the bottom was FM. So we're going to try to simulate that. Okay. And then you had little marks, and I'm going to show you when I'm done here with what that's going to look like. You had marks on there for the FM stations. B94, 104.7. Those were the big stations back in the day when I was listening to the boom boxes. Okay. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so that's kind of what the radio stations look like. So you'd move that dial on the side, and that needle would go up and down, and you could flip a switch between AM and FM. So we had that. Okay, there's that. And then, let's see. You always had a name across the bottom. You can kind of name your boombox anything that you want to name it. Let's see. gonna do like that. Like that. So let's see, what do you think, guys? GE, Panasonic, realistic, I don't know. I think I can't resist. I think I'm gonna do a realistic radio. That's gonna be my brand name on mine. So I'm gonna do real nice and neat, realistic. Okay guys, sorry about that. I had a little technical hiccup. The phone actually locked up on me. Alright, so we're going to try to finish this off here, kind of take it into the home stretch. So what I'm going to do, I got that much done right there. You see that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the speakers in. Okay? I'm going to glue those speakers in like that. Then I made a little handle for it. I'm going to put the handle on it, and then I made a little kickstand to go on the back of it, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I am going to momentarily step over to my glue gun. I am going to glue that up, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. You guys bear with me 2 seconds here. Alright, so we're just going to get these speakers in here, get some glue there. Okay. Okay, 1 speaker glued. 2 speakers glued. Okay. And I'm going to get that handle attached here in a second. Alright, that handle on there. And I'll get that back put on. Okay. Alright, I'll get back over here. I'm going to put this last piece on, the backing that allows it to stand up. Get that like that. Okay. Okay, and I need to hold that for a few moments. I got to make sure that that dries completely. Okay. Massage that a little wee bit. There we go. All right. So, let me make sure that's in our camera frame here. Okay. So that is a vintage Golden Age boombox that is made completely from broken headphones and some cardboard. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this thing on, see how it sounds here. Get my smartphone, plug my smartphone in. Okay, and of course we got to get something like 80s going, so that is awesome. So that's Van Halen, the classic 80s band. So if you guys have the bigger speakers you have, the louder it'll be. The smaller speakers you have, the smaller it will be. But this is a way to take those broken headphones you got laying around the house that a lot of us or most of us do, and turning them into a really, really cool technology product. Okay guys, so that's our project for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I love doing it. So until next week, this is Mr. Burek out.